Hi, everybody. Welcome to Marc Summers Unwraps. I get the question on a regular basis. You worked at the Food Network for a long time. How come you don't have more folks from that neck of the woods on? And the other question I get is, how the heck did you get a job at the Food Network? Well, it was a strange situation. I was producing at the time, and a lady who was writing books came to me with an idea. Roseanne Gold is her name, and she wrote 3 books and won 3 James Beard Awards. And all the time I was pitching her to the Food Network people, they kept on saying, well, why don't you do a show? Why don't you do a show? And I'm thinking to myself, I barely cook. What would I have to do on the Food Network? But the next thing I know, they made me an offer. I did a show called It's a Surprise. It was all about surprise parties. And the surprise was nobody was watching. But it led to another show called Unwrapped, which ran for many years. And then I exec produced Dinner and Restaurant Impossible. And in the middle of all that, I got a chance to meet a gentleman who's become a very good friend. If I read his credentials at Food Network and elsewhere, we wouldn't have any time for the show. But say a big hello to Mr. Michael D. Symon, huh?
Oh, D, yes.
What's the D stand for?
Yeah, well, a lot of people. Liz tells me what the D stands for all the time, but it's actually my father's name was Dennis. Oh, so Dennis.
Michael,
yeah,
Dennis. That's nice. Very cool.
Yeah,
And part Greek.
Yeah, like Greek and Sicilian.
Right.
Well, my mother was Greek and Sicilian, so I was raised Greek and Sicilian.
Yeah, apparently so. Yes.
Right.
And your dad was?
My dad was. It's funny, like when you do those 33, whatever they're called.
Oh, yeah,
like my
23
dad
years.
was.
Yeah.
He's Eastern European. His parents were from the Carpathian Mountains, which was Ruthenia, which is now part of the Ukraine. But like when they did those things, my dad, for some weird reason, he had Greek in him also. I don't know.
There's a joke there, but I won't touch
yeah,
that.
Are we PG-13 or no?
We're anything we want.
Okay, good.
And so you grew up with a predominance of Greek.
Yeah. Well, I mean, certainly from a food standpoint, most of the food that I ate as a kid was Greek with a little Italian influence.
My wife is Greek. I used to do a joke in my act at the Comedy Store that Alice hated. I said on our wedding night, my wife walked down the aisle backwards. I still bring it up every now and then just to make her angry.
It's because it's still a good joke.
That's right. It still works.
Yeah.
What can I tell you? So there's so many directions to go with you, and I made copious notes here and did all sorts of research. I don't get to see you in person as much as I used to, but rumor is that could change. Hopefully.
Trying.
Yeah.
I mean, I try to avoid you as much as possible, but sometimes it just you can't avoid those kind of things.
So you grew up in Cleveland.
I did.
Did you always want to be a chef?
No. I mean, I always loved food, and I've been in the kitchen since I was a little kid with my mom, and obviously the Greeks cook a lot.
Yep.
I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I was a horrible student. I mean, terrible student.
I hear this from chefs all the time.
Yeah, I mean, now I know that, I have ADD and I have a little bit of OCD and, I have all the D's, but it was hard for me to focus in school. I wasn't capable of it. But I was a pretty good athlete and wrestler, and, that kept me in school and going in the right direction. And I thought eventually would give me a scholarship to college and I'd go from there. But, had a couple kind of horrific injuries my junior and senior year and ended up coaching wrestling, which I very much enjoyed. But at the same time started working in restaurants to pay for college. My dad worked at Ford. My grandfather was a pipe fitter. It's like they didn't have scads of money to pay for school. So, I started working in my buddy's dad's restaurant and fell in love with it. And
what was it that intrigued you about it?
It's like it was the greatest. So you get a ticket, you start working on the ticket, then another ticket comes in, then another ticket comes in, you put the ticket out, ooh, new ticket, ooh, new ticket. So it was constantly squirrel, 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 and my mind just works very well. I'm like some people couldn't keep track of the 4 tickets. For me, I could look at 30 and I'm good, and then I mean, this is something I learned as a young kid, but it was reinforced for me when I started working in restaurants, is when food is done well, it makes people happy, So I always knew my mom was, there was about to be a party at the house when I smelled the cafete and she'd start cutting up the feta and all those kind of things. It's ooh, party. And then people come over. They love my mom's food. They'd have a good time, So I saw the ability that food had to make people happy. And then from again, the Mediterranean in me, the Sunday suppers, I saw the ability that food had to bring people together. So it was like, for me, I just fell in love with the business. I just fell in love with it. And I always was creative and artistic. And it just sparked a part of me that, I didn't know was there until then.
So CIA, Culinary Institute of America, has been the premier cooking school for years.
Mm-hmm.
When Food Network exploded, there were so many people who wanted to go, not understanding how hard you have to work 7 days a week, holidays,
Right.
For $40,000 a year.
Well, I mean, Mark, I went to culinary school in the 80s, and at the time there was the CIA in Hyde Park, New York, and there was Johnson and Wales, and that was it, basically. There were some other ones starting to bubble up, but those were the two big ones. I mean, now there's culinary schools everywhere, and I went to school to be a tradesman, basically.
How much was it back then?
It was a 2-year associate's degree program, and if I recall, it was $14,000 a year.
Oh my God! You think about what they charge now.
Yeah, I don't even know.
It's
I don't
insane.
even want to know.
No, you don't want to know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And there wasn't even the opportunity then to get you could just get an associate's degree, and then you could go, your credits were transferable to Cornell because they were associated somehow. So you could then get a degree in restaurant and hospitality management at Cornell with transferable credits.
Did you have any interest in doing that?
No.
You just wanted to get to work.
Yeah, I hated school. I mean, I loved culinary school because it wasn't sitting and looking at a book, but I just went right out into the field and started working.
And your class is notorious because there was a book written about you guys back in the day, and is it Making of a Chef? Was that the book?
Well, yeah, there was Michael Ruhlman wrote 2 books. He wrote Making of a Chef and Soul of a Chef.
Mm-hmm.
Making a Chef was about the Culinary Institute of America. Soul of a Chef wasn't about the Culinary Institute of America, but it was about 3 chefs, myself, Thomas Keller, and Brian Polson.
So was Thomas at school the same time you were?
No, Thomas didn't go to culinary school.
Really?
No.
So Thomas Keller, who owns French Laundry and has a reputation of being one of the top chefs globally, didn't go to culinary school.
Nope.
Oh, my.
No. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to go. I mean, it's, with culinary school to me back then, it gave you, when I went, I was 2 years out of high school, and I think I was probably the youngest kid in my class.
Right.
I think I was 19. And most of the people in my class were mid to late 20s or early 30s. And what culinary school gave you was a really good foundation.
So correct me if I'm wrong. The stories I had heard when I first started at Food Network were how cruel chefs could be in the kitchen.
Oh.
And I knew one guy whose name will remain nameless in a big New York restaurant. He used to take forks and stab them into servers' legs if they were behind. I've heard the stories from you and from Bobby about hot pans on the back of your neck if you weren't doing what the head chef wanted. And wasn't it you in your class that said that stops now?
Yeah, I think our generation, when we were coming up, and again, I worked for a chef who remained nameless, but he was a French chef who would only allow a certain amount of Americans in the kitchen at a time. And you didn't keep up, he'd stab you in the ass with a meat fork. And back then, there were only a dozen chefs that you really wanted to work for in the United States. So you had to do what you had to do to get into those kitchens.
Was there one in particular that you wanted to work for?
At that time, I staged and really wanted to continue to work for him. He wasn't a European chef, but I was enamored by Larry Forgione and what he was doing with American cuisine at the time. There was another chef named Brendan Walsh, who I don't know what happened to Brendan, but again, another American chef making moves. Waxman was one of those chefs making moves, the American chefs making moves. So there was a group of American chefs that were coming up at that time. If I have any regrets, there were, a couple chefs, and I would have loved to work for Andre Soltner.
Because?
To me, he was, and he recently passed, and I was fortunate enough to meet him in later years, but just an incredibly special human. But his his foundation and his technique was so strong, and his ability to coax tons of flavors out of simplistic dishes was incredible. Which always was so interesting to me.
Waxman is looked upon as a godfather of sorts too. I know.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a huge, advisor and mentor to me over my years.
He started Bobby too, didn't he? Man?
Yeah, Bobby worked for him at not at Jams, at what was his other one, but very early on Wax. Yeah,
Nice guy.
the best.
He's the best.
Character.
He just keeps working.
Yeah, just my favorite curmudgeon.
I just went last year when I was living in New York doing my show. I went to his new location of the new restaurant, and he took me to where he wanted to build this bar
Downstairs.
Yeah. I don't know if it's done yet, but
almost.
He had almost. So it's been a year.
Yeah.
And he had all these great plans. And people ask me all the time at 73, "What keeps you going?" What the hell am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
And I think he's the same way.
Yeah, he, like sometimes I'm like, why? Like, call it a day, And he's just like, and I've said the same thing to you.
Yeah.
Why are you still working? But then as I'm starting to get older, I realize like working keeps you youthful.
Oh yeah, 100%. You got to keep the mind going.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
so I never want to retire. I mean, like, there's going to be a point where I want to slow down, but I never want to retire.
So I get called, now it's been 15 years ago, to give the commencement address at CIA. And I always said, can you imagine your parents spent all this money to send you to Culinary Institute of America, and at your graduation you want Michael Symon, Bobby Flay, somebody like that, and Marc Summers shows up. And, I did a little tongue-in-cheek stuff with him, but afterwards, all these kids surrounded me, and all they wanted to know was, how do I get a job on the Food Network? And I said to them, here's my email address, here's my phone number, call me in 10 years. And they said to me, 10 years, what are you talking about? I said, everything you learned here is fantastic, but the first job you go to, the chef you're working for is going to tell you to do it his way or her way. And it's great that you got this training, but quite honestly, until you're out there in the trenches, it means nothing. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. And like even with the Food Network stuff, Mark, it's like people ask me, how do you get on Food Network? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
They're like, how can't you know? You've been on forever. I'm like, it was a different time. In 1998 when, the Food Network was big in prisons and nursing homes, like I won Food and Wine Best New Chef and Beard Awards and all this stuff. And they had me on as a guest on Sarah Moulton's show. Sarah Moulton Cooking Live, and Mark Disson was the producer of the show, and I did well. And then they asked me to do Melting Pot, and then it was only, I mean, you were one of the first ever like talent on the Food Network.
Yeah.
Up until that point, it was just chefs.
It was chefs, and I kind of broke out. Unwrapped became, I guess, what Fieri is today is what Unwrapped was back in the day.
Right.
And we did, hundreds and hundreds of episodes.
Right.
And that was the first breakthrough. Now it's all competition, and we can have a conversation until the cows come home on that. But what was Melting Pot?
Melting Pot was, they had, it was basically, the show was on 5 days a week, and every day was a different host of a different cuisine.
Oh.
So like myself and Wayne Harley Brackman, who were Bobby's pastry chefs, because I was from Cleveland, and a lot of the food that I was doing in Cleveland had Eastern European vibes to it. Him and I did Eastern European. Listen to this lineup. This is kind of crazy if you think of it now. So myself and Wayne. Mediterranean was Rocco DiSpirito and Cat Cora. Latin was Michelle Bernstein and Aron Sanchez. And then Padma had she was like a model at the time.
Yep.
So she was still married to Salmon. And she had her own, I don't even know what she was doing. It was just like the Padma half hour.
Yeah.
But like, all those chefs, the majority of those chefs are still around.
Yeah, and now they're big names. It's funny. Padma's very funny. She used to call me all the time when I started to get hot as a talent and producer that she wanted to pitch me shows. So I'd say, sure, let's meet. Well, every time she wanted to meet, she wanted to go to the most expensive restaurants here in Los Angeles, and ended up, with all due respect, I paid the bill. And after about the fourth time of, hey, Mark, can we get together? I said, I'd love to, Padma. I can't afford to go out to lunch with
Yeah.
you.
I mean, like, In-N-Out? How do you feel about In-N-Out?
That's right. There's a taco place that I love, but and it's so funny because I ran into her, maybe it was at South Beach or something, and went up and said hi to her. She had no recollection of who I was.
Yeah, who are you?
Who are you?
Yeah.
Don't you remember we used to go to lunch all the time?
Yeah, no.
No. So that it just kind of makes me laugh. The business is just so hysterical when you think about the people. All the people you just mentioned are still around and doing quite well. And they've jumped. Some people started at Food Network and then they've jumped to other shows due to whatever reasons. Opening your first restaurant in Cleveland, was that the scariest time of your life?
No, I was too dumb to realize it was scary. I was young. I was 26, 7 years old.
Was it Lola, the first restaurant?
Yeah. And we had some of our own money. We borrowed a little bit from my dad and grandfather. And then a regular customer at the restaurant that Liz and I ran prior gave us the rest. And I don't know. I mean, it was so exciting that I wasn't really afraid. I mean, I was afraid that, like, my dad and grandfather giving us some money, that was slightly scary to me because they didn't have it, really.
Right.
It's not like, I'm like, this is literally my father's retirement, and he gave it to me to open a restaurant. But also back then, I think we opened a restaurant. I think it cost us $150,000 to open the restaurant.
What? And now it would cost you $1 million.
Yeah, at least. I mean, now it was like, when we were opening up the casual burger places a decade ago, it cost $1 million.
So Lola was in this sort of almost trendy area.
Well, yeah, not trendy when we opened it, scary when we opened it, but then it gentrified, yeah.
And the cuisine was?
The cuisine was Midwestern, obviously I had run Italian restaurants pretty much exclusively prior to that. And when we were getting ready to open Lola, Liz is like, what's the food going to be? And I'm like, we're in Cleveland. There's things I want to do. I want to make it approachable for Clevelanders. I don't want to continue to do Italian at the time because I just didn't. And again, leaning back to my admiration for Larry Forgione and American Place, I'm like, it's going to be Midwestern. And Liz is like, what?
What does that mean?
I'm like, I go, not like we're going to take Midwestern dishes and
spruce
stylize them.
Yeah.
Like we did a duck meatloaf. You know what I mean? Like things like that. Duck and foie gras meatloaf. But it was meatloaf, so people
identified with it. Sure.
And then we did pierogi, but we stuffed them with beef cheeks. And beef cheeks they wouldn't order, but pierogi they would, So we kind of went about it in that manner. But the look on Liz's face, she's like, oh my God, he's fully lost his mind. Like we're dead. We are dead.
So Liz is your wife, in case folks don't know. And were you married at that point?
No, we weren't married. Liz, when my father, when he was still alive, obviously, but he would, Liz and I were together for several years, and my mom and her mom used to say, when are you guys going to get married? And my dad used to say, they own a restaurant and a house together. They're married,
Yep.
Not in the eyes of the church.
Right,
and
but in his eyes.
My dad's like, oh, well, the eyes of the church are great, but like they're 50-50 partners in a restaurant and they bought a house together. They're married.
They're married at this point.
But we got married 2 years after Lola opened.
So Lola explodes.
Exploded. It was insanity. It was like, it was insanity.
Yeah. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody, you're winning awards left and right. And then you move Lola to downtown Cleveland.
About a decade later, yeah.
Oh, it was a decade. I didn't realize it was that long. And so Lola became Lolita.
Correct.
And Lola was the spot to go to in Cleveland.
Yeah. Lola was open for 25 years.
Was it that long?
Yeah.
Oh, my.
So, it had a tremendous run. The pandemic killed it. We made it through depressions. We made it through everything, but it was a fine, it became when we moved to downtown, the customers wanted to be even more upscale than it was originally, which worked very well for us for a long time. But when the pandemic hit, it was like, okay, this isn't the kind of food that people get to go.
Yeah.
Like people aren't getting foie gras and tableside Dover sole to go. Like that doesn't work.
Not at those prices.
No. And then, in New York or LA, it would have been considered like a bargain basement restaurant, but in Cleveland, it was expensive. And then our lease ran out right in the middle of the pandemic, and the landlord wasn't really flexible with the lease, and we just didn't know what was on the other side. So after 25 years, and we were busy every single year we were open, we decided to just call it a day.
And that must have just made you feel like, oh my God.
There was so much uncertainty in the world, in my life, and in my professional life. I mean, like, basically in a week's time, we closed down 19 restaurants.
What?
Restaurants that we ran and or managed. They shut down because of the pandemic.
19.
And Food Network stopped filming, like in like 2 weeks. So I was like, okay, like our savings are pretty good, but this is problematic.
Oh my God, I didn't know
we
that.
have about $10 million in loans and no revenue. But we figured it out, and we closed a couple places, and and leases ran out in that time, and we survived it, and I thought I was okay, but then like the losing Lola and Lolita in that time period, it left a creative hole in my heart a little bit.
I bet it did.
Because
you had a place in New York for a while.
Yeah. We consulted at a place in New York,
right?
Pattaya.
And then you were doing hamburger places. You had the B Spot.
Yeah, and those are fun. And the management deals are fun, but those are casual concepts. The place that we consulted for in New York that got tons of fanfare and incredible reviews from the Times. And that that was only a 2-year deal. And then Lola and Lolita going away. Like the creative side of me got, I lost that. Like I loved, it's not like I was in the kitchen at Lola every single day, but like I did talk, the chefs and I would talk every day. We'd work on specials every day. We'd write menus every day, and that's a huge part of who I am, so like Liz, like if you looked at my phone, there's literally probably 100 menus in there that I've written. And Liz is like, what are these for? I'm like, and I'll just sit in bed and I'll just write menus.
Really?
Yeah, it's like, it's oddly soothing to me. But she's like, like, we're never going to open this. I'm like, yeah, I just like writing menus,
Wow.
And so it's I sent you a menu yesterday.
Yes. Yeah, and I can't wait to show it to my wife because it's got a lot of Greek stuff on it.
Right.
And she loves that stuff. And so how do you pick our show talks a lot about overcoming obstacles. And when you're $10 million in debt and don't have any restaurants to go to, that's a huge obstacle. You're generally a pretty positive human as long as I've known you 20 plus years, but I'm not sure I could have handled that.
For whatever reason, and I don't know, I mean, I'm sure some of it is how I was raised. I'm sure some of it is just my genetic makeup. I got lucky, when things get really bad, I get very calm. And I think very clearly. I mean, it's why I was so good at Iron Chef. It's like the world was melting down around everybody. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just going to put out this food and beat everyone.
And you did.
I did. But it's like, it's kind of like that same, and it was why I was good at wrestling. It was like, it's 6 minutes that you have to remain focused and calm, but like, so when it went bad, I just had a lot of clarity, and I'm like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do this, and we got a couple good breaks at the time too. Like Wonder Food just had started. And, Mark Laurie, like I was one of like the 5 original chefs. So, that created some income. I was driving to Food Network to do a show the day that the shutdown happened. I like literally got through the tunnel, and Erica called me and she's like, we just shut everything down.
What was that show?
It was going to be like Simon's Dinner stuff.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay. She's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I'm going to go to my apartment. I'm going to have 2 espressos and a bourbon, and I'm going to get back in the car. I wasn't driving the car, and go back to Long Island. And on my way back to Long Island, Olivia was with me, and Liz was at the house.
Explain who Olivia is.
Olivia Anacone is one of my best friend's daughters who worked with me, and she's on Simon's Dinners with Liz and I, but she was running my social and my life at the time. And I
Very
said,
bright lady.
very bright lady, very sharp. And so we were driving back, and I'm like, I'm on lockdown with Liv and Liz. I'm like, so I called Erica and I'm like, let's figure this out. I could do stuff at home. By the time I got home, like all the big execs, including Zasloff, David, were on the on an email together, and they're like, how could you do this? I'm like, well, shoot it on the iPhone. Let's just create a live show. Well, we can't do a live show for Food Network. We're not set up for that, but let's run it through our social channels. And I think we did it for like 75 straight days, and it got like over 200 million views.
Yeah, huge.
And then we turned it into a show. The first 2 seasons of Simon's Dinners Cooking Out, Liv shot them on her iPhone.
Oh, man.
And the whole reason it turned into Cooking Out as opposed to Cooking In is because at the time you couldn't have people in your home.
Right, couldn't interact.
So my production company, the sound guy we just had my sound guy would come, and he'd stand on the other side of the yard, and he would disinfect all the audio stuff that, fortunately, because I am old and I've been in TV forever, I could mic everyone. So I would mic Liz and Liv, and we'd check it, and we'd shoot a show.
Wow. And it was 75 straight days?
We did the 75 straight days live, and then it turned into a Food Network show that ran weekly.
So funny how those things, when you least expect it, come out of nowhere. But you got to be able to think on your feet.
Yeah, because I also think a lot of people started doing these like cooking shows on social after that. I don't know this for sure. I think we were the first. Like, just because of how it happened.
Right.
It just happened that I was going to New York. It just happened I was driving back. It just happened that Erica and David and everybody involved said, let's go for it. And it was Courtney White at the time. And we were able to do it. I mean, they're like, when could you start? I'm like, tomorrow. What do I got to do? I just shut down 19 restaurants and all the shows are canceled. My calendar's open.
I just got to go pick up some food and we can start.
So I put on a hazmat suit and went to the grocery store and hoped I didn't need paper towels, and off I went.
Oh my gosh. And that's turned into, what is it, 6 years you've been doing that show?
7 seasons.
7 seasons.
Yeah.
Good God.
But as you know, like, TV seasons don't mean a year necessarily.
No, not anymore. People say, my 354th season.
I'm on my 100th season, but you're 40 years old.
Right.
Well,
How did that happen?
Yeah.
And so if I went through all the shows that you've done.
There was the Chew, which, that was a big one.
Yeah, and the Chew, how did that happen? Because at the time, if you were on Food Network,
it was so nuts. It was... you're going to appreciate that. I can't believe I've never told you this story.
No.
It was ridiculous. So I'm doing Iron Chef. I'm doing Simon Suppers with Disson. And at the time, I believe I had a 3-year contract that had just expired.
With Food Network.
For Food Network. So they were negotiating the contract. And like, I was just on a handshake deal, still doing shows, And Gordon Elliott calls me up. And Gordon is like, I have this show that ABC wants to do, and they've greenlit the show, but they don't like the hosts that we have, so we need different hosts for the show. Will you come and read? And he goes, are you under contract with Food Network? I said, no, oddly enough, I'm still doing shows. He goes, how can't you be under contract? I'm like, I'm doing shows. We haven't signed a new deal. They're things are moving slow, so I go, when do you want me to New York? He goes, tomorrow. I go, tomorrow. I'm opening up a restaurant in 4 days. He goes, I'll send you a plane. Get to New York. At the time, Gordon had his own plane. Get to New York. I'm like, okay. So I go to Liz and Doug. I'm like, hey, they want me to read for the show for ABC. Everyone okay with that? Yeah, we're fine with that. So I get on the plane. I fly to New York. I read. And Feldman and Rosen were there. And
agents and managers,
sorry, and execs from Food Network or execs from ABC, and they're like, we want you to do the show. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, they're here. I'm going back. I got to open a restaurant. No, you can't leave until you agree to a deal. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, they're like, we got to iron out the deal before you go, because this is you know, there's 8 people that read, you're at the top of our list. But if you say no, we need to
change everything.
We need to get one of these other people and figure out how this is going to work.
Right.
So now I have to call Liz and Doug. I'm like, I got it. They're like, great. They're like, when does it start? I'm like, in 5 months. Well, where? I'm like, New York. So when are you going to film them all? I'm like, it's on every day.
We're live.
Yeah. So a lot was going on.
Yeah.
Now
what was the restaurant you were trying to open at the time?
we were opening up our second B spot.
Okay.
So it wasn't like, you know, we were opening up this crazy fine dining place. We were opening up a concept that we already had one of, but it was still a lot of stuff. And at the time, the president of Food Network was, oh God, I loved her. Smoked cigars, drank bourbon.
Oh, yeah. Why can't I think of her name?
My brain just went totally
Yes.
blank. So I'll think of it in a second. But she calls me up and she's like, Michael, you can't do this show. Like, word had gotten out. I'm like, she goes, you're under contract. I'm like, I'm not. She's like, what do you mean you're not? I go, there's still. So somehow Feldman and John were able to get it in both deals that I was allowed to do Food Network and I was allowed to do ABC, because one was network television and a daytime show. One was primetime and a cable show. And they let me do both.
Boy, timing was perfect on that.
I got
if you
Betsy
had a contract
Johnson.
with
Johnson?
why can't I think of
Johnson.
Yeah.
Why can't I think of her first name?
Either one of us.
Oh my God, Michael. She's awesome. I love the woman. And I can't think of her name. But you know, I just got lucky. And then the Chew came on, and I mean, we did 7 seasons and 1,500 episodes of television.
So it was you, it was Mario Batali.
Carla Hall, Daphne Oz, and Clinton Kelly.
Yep.
And then it ended up Daphne got let go or resigned or whatever after a couple seasons, and then Mario. And then so it was the last 2 years, it was Clinton, Carla, and myself.
And the show was very successful. When they announced they were taking it off, everybody was in shock because the ratings were great.
Yeah, I think it was the 2nd or 3rd rated show on daytime. It just was there were some weird timing things, and you know, ultimately, he no longer works there anymore. I can't think of his name. I forgot it on purpose. But the person who took over daytime programming at ABC at the time came from the GMA world, so he wanted a 3rd hour of news, and so they
how that
replaced the Chew with the 3rd hour of news, and it never did good numbers after that.
I remember.
Yeah,
that.
it was, and I mean, imagine the numbers that show would have done during the pandemic.
Well,
they
huge.
would have been
insane. Yeah.
The whole world was trying to figure out how to cook.
Everybody was home, and that's what they wanted to do.
Yep.
Why can't we think of the name of the executive that signed our contracts for all those years?
Brooke Johnson.
There you go.
I said Betsy. I was close.
Brooke Johnson. Yep.
God
yep.
Almighty.
And when she left, nobody's seen or heard from her since. But,
no, she just was like, I'm done.
I'm done. You know, it's amazing.
But I mean, the reason Food Network is what it is and grew to what it did was because of Brooke Johnson.
One of the best things Brooke ever said to me, I was hosting an event for her, and I said, I got to get this call. And she said, what was that about? And I said, it was about notes for Restaurant Impossible. She said, they're still giving you notes? At this point in your life, you should know what the hell you're doing. If you're getting notes, you shouldn't be doing this job anymore.
Right.
I mean, she got it.
I loved her because in a world of television where no one tells you the truth, ever.
That's all she did.
Just fucking tell me the truth.
Yes.
You know, like if you don't like it, tell me you don't like it. Brooke, you'd be like, so what do you think about the new show? It's terrible. I hate it.
I heard they were doing a game show based on Unwrapped. And somehow nobody asked me to do it. So I called up Brooke Johnson. I said, I just heard a rumor. She said, what's the rumor? I said that you're doing a game show on Unwrapped. She said, yes, we are. And I said, well, my background was game shows, and I host Unwrapped. Please explain to me why nobody ever called me about this. She said, do you want to be involved? So I said, yes, I would like to. So she connected me with the people who were actually the same people who were producing Unwrapped. And I went in and produced a run-through for them. And I said to her, Brooke, the history of game shows on Food Network has never been good. People want to see chefs. They want to see cooking. They don't care about games at all. And she said, well, Mark, here's the deal. I can do it with you or I can do it without you.
But I'm doing it.
Whichever you'd like, I'm going to do it.
Right.
I said, I'll take that. I'll do it. Okay? So we went and shot 65 episodes. And the phone rings at 2:00 in the afternoon in my office at home, and it was Brooke. And I said, Brooke, when you call me, it's either the best news or the worst news. And she said, quote, "You're killing my Monday nights." Okay. And I said, I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you this thing wasn't going to work.
No, but but there's something great about her though, because she just says it how it is.
Yes. And that was great. And she said, I'm going to put you on and amortize the show out at 4 a.m. for the next 18 months to get my money out of it. But I said, when are we going off? She said, oh, you're done.
Tonight.
Tonight. You know?
It's Monday, you're done.
Yeah.
Well, another great story with her is the chew was offered to them first.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And they didn't take it. And season 2 of the chew, she's on set. And I'm like, hey, Brooke, what's going on? She's like, I asked Gordon, I want to come see how you guys do it. I'm like, oh, awesome. I go, why? She goes, because I'm going to put the exact same show on the Food Network and call it The Kitchen.
Yep.
It's so many words. That's what she said. Like, she basically just said, we shouldn't have passed on it. It's a great idea, but we're going to own it now as opposed to Gordon.
Right.
And we're going to put it on Food Network. And, I do a lot of business with Gordon, so he's nice enough to let me come here and see how it's done.
Yeah, welcome to show business. You know, it just is amazing.
Yeah, what's the old line? If you can't create it, steal it, or something like that.
Yeah, well, a lot of people have made a career doing that. You know, that's unbelievable. So, how many restaurants throughout the years? You've got Mabel's now in Vegas.
Mabel's in Cleveland and Vegas.
And
we had at one time 6 B spots. Lola, Lolita. I mean, fortunately, mostly everything we've done has succeeded. We had one complete failure in Avon Lake, Ohio. I think you actually went there once, called Bar Simon.
Yeah,
I thought it was a great restaurant, just in not the right spot. And we still do those at airports now, like a casual version of those.
So it didn't work, but I remember going there and the line was out the door.
Well, it was on the west side of Cleveland.
In the burbs.
People eat on Saturday and Sunday at 7 or brunch. And then that's it. When we closed, people were in shock. They're like, I can never get in. I'm like, when do you come? Saturday at 7. I'm like, where are you Monday at 6?
Yeah, Tuesday at 4.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't show up.
It just didn't work. And yet that was everything else succeeded, and there were places we chose to close over time. Lola closing after 25 years was a success.
Yeah.
Lolita closing after 18 years, success.
Right.
The burger concept was a success. So that was that Bar Simon and Avon Lake. Oh my God. And it was all on me too. I remember Liz and Doug going, "Are you sure we should open there?" I'm like, that side of town needs a great restaurant, and they still do, by the way. But Cheesecake Factory is where they want to have
really.
They want to eat on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and they're no fault of them. It is what it is,
Likability is something that you can't teach humans, and the reason you've been at Food Network for 28 years is because the people at home who watch you really like what you do. Tested by your new book that's out and thousands of people waiting to hear you talk and sign books. And that's got to make you feel pretty darn good, I would imagine.
Yeah, it does. Mark, I mean, you and I have been friends for a long time. And I've made a lot of decisions in my life and career and whatever. Some good, some bad, some, passed up things I probably shouldn't have because I didn't believe in them or didn't want to be portrayed a certain way. And I have no regrets about any of those decisions. And it is flattering to me. The perfect example is when I had to come in and do Dinner Impossible for a season, and Food Network's like, he's got to be meaner. And you're like, you got to be meaner. I'm like, not doing it.
Well, that's not who you are.
No, I'm not doing it.
No.
I don't have to be an asshole to teach someone how to cook.
Right.
I could be perfectly, nice to people and still teach them how to cook a certain way or put out a certain level of food. I could say with the utmost confidence that season, every impossible dinner we did, the people that ate it were very, very happy.
One of the most difficult ones we did is we went to a rodeo, and you had to cook for cowboys.
Oh, you're such an asshole on that one.
And what
vegan.
It was all vegan.
I had to cook a vegan meal
something
for
you hate
cowboys.
more than life itself.
Yeah.
And that was the only time you got mad at me.
Oh, I was so pissed.
And I just saw it come out again because
my
A,
God.
you didn't want to do vegan, and B, I was getting instructions from the network to get you to be more angry.
Right.
And it's the only time you picked up a spatula and threw it at me and told me to get the F out of there.
Unfortunately, what the Food Network didn't think through, or you, I wasn't angry at the Cowboys or the Cooks. No. I was pissed at you. Which never made it on television.
No, it didn't. I edited that part out. But yeah, that was a funny time. The thing I always appreciated though was my son created a show called Food Feuds, where we went to different cities and it was who had the best cheesesteak or the best pizza or whatever. And you came to me at the audition, because I had to audition a bunch of people, and said, how am I supposed to handle this? What am I supposed to do? And I gave you notes, and you followed them beautifully, which is why you got to do it. Now, in our industry, that show did really well. But there was an executive, once again, who will remain nameless, when I went into the office and said, are we getting picked up because our numbers are great? And her response was, I just don't get Michael Symon.
She didn't like me.
And so because one person in the upper towers may not like the talent, be it you, me, or anybody else, it's happened to me a million times, you're done. No, ratings are irrelevant.
She didn't like me. And I mean, and when she was I got passed over a lot. And it's funny. Like, I ended up on the Chew mainly because my guess is she was passing on me on a lot of other shows. And my guess is she was probably one of the people that was vocal about re-upping my contract. Yeah. So, but everything works out for a reason. Out, but it's like, I just, like, look, when I, like, up until, like, I was the luckiest guy in the world in the sense of, like, early on in my career, I got to work with you and I got to work with Mark Disson. And
Disson's a genius.
And, Mark Disson is, like, basically, for the people at home, any of the Food Network chefs early on, the person that taught them how to do television, or talent that maybe couldn't cook but was really good on camera, the person that taught them how to cook, or if you're a chef, do television with those cook and stir type shows, was Mark Disson. And then, so I learned from Mark, and then to be a host was like a whole different muscle, because now I'm not cooking, which is what I'm comfortable doing. And I had you to teach me how to do that. And so, like, I got this really tremendous foundation as a young person in television, which has obviously worked for me down the line. And the other person too is, I don't give him credit because he aggravates the shit out of me, even though I love him, is, Gordon Elliott taught me how to do live television.
Yeah.
Because he was very, like, you just gotta let it, like, don't think about anything, like, just let it rip.
Double Dare was just exploding. And he calls me up when he was doing local TV in New York and said, I want you to do a live segment with me from Penn Station. And we're going to grab people off the trains, and we're going to do physical challenges. Okay. I said, you think that's a good idea? He goes, oh yeah, it'd be great television. So we were taking guys getting off the subways at 7:45 in the morning with, $2,000 watches and $5,000 suits, and hitting them with pies and slime. And they would say, what am I supposed to do now? And he'd say, I don't know, go to work. And I said, Gordon, somebody's going to kill us. He said, stay behind me, mate. You're going to be fine.
For those who haven't seen Gordon up close and personal, he's a little older now, but he's a giant human being.
He's a large man.
He's like probably 6'5", and lurpy. He's massive. His head is it's
got its own
literally the
zip
size
code.
Of 2 watermelons.
Yes. Yeah. And he's got balls of steel.
Yeah.
And will do anything for the entertainment of what he is trying to produce live. And live he was, I thought, the best at. And he got me to do stuff. I still have that video, and I go, I can't believe. Now somebody would have shot us, but back then we got away with it, and we kept cutting back to it. We did it for 2 hours, and people would still come by, and we ran out of whipped cream and slime after a while because we kept dumping it on these people. But that's the fun part of what TV used to be,
right?
It's not that way so much anymore.
No, it gets more. Now there's so much editing and so much. One of my greatest skill sets for TV, and it's why when I do live presentations and things of that nature, is like the ability to think on my feet and do things live, which I think 20 years ago was a very, very important skill. I don't think it is as much now, because you just got to talk in a soundbite which I'm not good at, but you just got to talk in a soundbite and let people edit the shit out of you, you know? And it's like,
Yeah.
like I remember when we were doing Simon's Dinners Cooking Out in my backyard, Courtney White came, who was a executive producer at Food Network, because she wanted to see how, she's like, you're doing 2 of these a day. How are you doing 2 of these shows a day? I'm like, Courtney, we could do 3 if we wanted to. I just don't want to do 3. She goes, I don't understand. So she like came and she watched and she's like, you're like cooking everything and like, it's like
Live.
one take.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. Like,
yeah, because we would always have, things already pre-cooked and we'd swap them out and all that kind of stuff. You didn't swap anything out.
no. And she's like, well, why can't all the shows do that? I'm
Yeah.
like, well,
Yeah, they could.
yeah. I mean, there's a handful of people that are, like Bobby could do it. I could do it. There's not a lot of people that really could do television and are, like the term, I'll just leave it at this. The term celebrity chef.
Yes.
The main word being chef.
Yes.
Is used very loosely.
Yes. We will not mention names,
And
but we
look,
know who they are.
I don't, that doesn't even bother me. Like,
No.
because a lot of these people who aren't chefs, but they're tremendous teachers, and
Yeah.
they're teaching people how to cook at home, which is the most important thing to
But
me.
Rachel
anyhow.
says she's a cook.
Yeah, that's what I love Rachel. She
Yeah.
doesn't claim to be a chef.
No, exactly right. So
You
there's
know,
there's a huge
I
difference.
had
in that.
a co-host for a long time who was more direct, we'll just say, than I am. And like people would say, I'm a chef. And he would say, of what? The studio?
Oh my! Yeah, when we're off, you got to tell me who that was.
Yeah.
that's pretty funny. Yeah, it's a different world now, and certainly television is. I don't know if it's more of a challenge or less of a challenge because of all the post editing that people do, but it's certainly different. How many cookbooks have you written?
This is my 9th.
That must be the most difficult thing to do.
I love it.
Do you? Why?
We have a good
So
system now, and
tedious.
I do it with the same group, and I have the same photographer, the same recipe testers, the same, we test all of our recipes 3 times in the home kitchen for the past 7 books, same food stylists, same photographers, same recipe testers, so.
And this new book is?
Simon's Dinners Cooking Out, based on the show, Simon's Dinners Cooking Out. And it was our 5th New York Times bestseller, which is super exciting.
It was appointment TV for me and Alice. We would record those things and sit on a Sunday afternoon and take notes.
Yeah, you loved the show.
Oh, we watched it and we wrote down recipes and we did recipes all the time. The thing about, for years, every Thanksgiving, I call Michael and I say, so how do I do the turkey again? Should I preheat the oven at what? And now how do I do it with the butter and all that kind of stuff? And year after year after year, I did it. And I think I called you this year and I said, I think I got it.
Yeah, I mean, it's taken like 15 years. I mean, like literally, I gave him the same exact recipe
Every
for
year.
15 years. I'm like, could you write it down? You want me to send you a video? Like,
But it comes out great. Every year it comes out great. Now, this year I did it without your help and it worked out fantastic. But
Good. I'm sure I'll get a call next year.
there's no question about that, So 9 books, New York Times best-selling list.
Yeah.
When you're doing a book like that, does the publisher say I need X amount of pages or X amount of dishes?
Yeah, we agree on the amount of recipes for the book, and like some books are a little bit bigger than others, but basically it's like 100. Like most cookbooks, my cookbooks are right around 120 recipes. Like that's like our sweet pocket.
And when you go to these live signings, what do people ask you?
Do you remember me from last time I met you?
Yeah, right.
A lot of them. It's interesting. Like the majority of the people I'm meeting for the first time, obviously, and like they're like this year, Liz was on the first 8 stops of the book tour with me, and like sometimes they'll be like, "Oh my God, you're laughing! It's real." I'm like, and like Liz will go, "Do you actually think someone would try to laugh like that intentionally? Like it's like."
So they think about it like it's a
Like,
shtick
like
thing
I'm
that
it's
you...
a shtick,
Oh
like a
my
shtick
God.
that I'm doing on television, or like,
weird.
oh, you're actually nice in person. I'm like, I'm not a fucking actor.
Isn't that
I'm a
insane?
cook.
Yeah.
Like so. Like they ask me that, and then they'll ask me a lot. They ask a lot about Norman, my dog.
Mm-hmm.
They ask a lot about my grandchildren.
Of which there are two.
There are two with a third on the way.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Kyle's busy.
Another one in August. Kyle's
That
very
donut
busy.
business must be doing really well.
Jeez, oh man! I'm like, all right, enough. We can only. It was easy to watch one. It was a little harder to watch two. Three's gonna may kill me. Kyle.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited for them.
Nice.
They asked. He passed a couple years, like 4 years ago now. But they asked a lot about my grandfather Pap because I talk about him so much, and he was such an influence in my life. And then they'll ask like shows that they watch, like when you were doing Burgers, Brew and Q, was there anything that you hated? And I'm like, no, we do the research before we go.
Right.
We did that show for 5 or 6 seasons too, and it was like there was one place like we went to it, and I'm like, no, we're not doing it here. And we left.
It was that bad.
Well, it wasn't good, and it was dirty, and it was like, I'm not telling people to go here.
Right.
So you know this, you do your work ahead of time, and it's like when we did Food Feuds, it's like we didn't have any bad food, we had great food.
Right.
So you do your homework before, but a lot of them, I think, they're like, you've never had anything like terrible. I'm like, no, we don't put ourselves in that position. And then I don't judge a lot of shows. So I'm sure like when you're judging some cooking competitions, you'd eat some horrific stuff. But like, I don't like it. Judging to me isn't my thing.
When I used to do Guys Grocery Games, some of the worst food I ever had in my entire life.
Oh, really?
Oh, my God. Where I would like stir it around on the plate and take little nibbles and stuff, and it was just like some of it was atrocious.
Right, and you're kind of picky too. So there's that.
Yeah, well, that I am. Yeah, I remember once I went to one of your restaurants, and the server called and said, "Marc Summers is here, and he doesn't want the thing cooked the way we do it." And you're the first time I ever had Brussels sprouts. I'd never had a Brussels sprout until I was in the restaurant in Detroit, I think it was.
Yeah, roast.
And that was really good. But I remember when the server called and said, "Summers doesn't want it the way you want to do it." And he just said, give him whatever.
Yeah. And then I'm sure I called you immediately after and made fun of you.
Always. It's a regular.
It's such a pain in my ass.
I'm very difficult, needless to say. What else do we have here? I have all sorts of notes. Oh, okay. You and I have an agreement that maybe our favorite and maybe the best chef out there right now is Mark Fetry.
Yeah.
He is a guy that I met when I was living in Philadelphia, producing Dinner and Restaurant Impossible. He's a genius. And
a subtle genius,
and very cool, calm, and collected, and does unique Italian food. And he kind of knows what lane he's in. I don't think he's ever gone outside the pizza, pasta world.
He did do like an American type restaurant. It didn't work.
Where was this?
In Philly. I can't think of the name of it now. Remember, he did like a bar.
I don't even remember that.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah, and
like it was the one time he went out of his lane.
Huh.
I mean, and it's funny how food works that way. But like, yeah I think what Mark does is Mark does. He doesn't do Italian American. He does it Italian.
Yeah.
But he does Italian with the ingredients that he has available to him in Philadelphia.
Right.
It's special.
Yeah.
I mean, Vetry's special.
He's got a pasta restaurant now in Vegas. I haven't been to the one, but the one in Philly, and I could just eat there every night. It's
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, no carb left behind.
No, believe me, let me tell you, that's true. How did the relationship with you and Bobby start? Because you and Bobby Flay are best friends, and Bobby is the nicest human in the world. He's been my mentor for years, but he's not easy to get super close with, and you've managed to do that.
I don't know. I mean, I think you trust each other, and I'd met him prior, but I started getting to know Bobby well when, my co-host on Melting Pot in 1998 was Wayne Harley Brackman, who was the pastry chef at Mesa Grill.
Oh, and Mesa was a big restaurant of Bobby's.
Yeah. And I mean, it just over the years, it's like, it's. I think a lot of it is, Mark, is the chef profession is a difficult profession, and as an owner, and then. The cookbooks, the television, like we have so many things similar in our lives that like to be able to talk to each other about some of those things is helpful to both of us.
Yeah. The James Beard Award is like the Academy Award of food. How old were you when you got that?
I think I got my first one at 30. No, I don't even know.
And were you like blown away? Like, how did this happen?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the thing that happened with us that was so crazy is, no one was coming to Cleveland to write about restaurants.
No.
Or Ohio for that matter. So like when I won Food and Wine Best New Chef, I was the first Ohio chef to ever win the award. When I won James Beard, I was the first Ohio chef to win the award. When Lola was named one of the top 10 by Bon Appetit, we were the first Ohio restaurant to win that award. So like I was shocked every time because like for the beard, when I won the beard for being a chef, it was like we were in the same category as Chicago. Like, so Chicago chefs won. Like
every year.
Ohio chefs didn't win, and so to break through to that was surprising, flattering, all those things. So I've been lucky. I mean, look, in life, you're gonna get. One of the things my grandfather told me when I was young, he's like, everybody gets chances. Some people don't take advantage of them, so. And I don't believe that everybody gets chances, to be honest, but I do. But one thing that stuck with me is like when I get a chance, I'm going to grab it,
take advantage,
and I'm going to run with it as hard as I can. And it's like, and I've always been that. Like I was never going to be like, oh, he didn't get this because he's lazy. He didn't get this because this person worked harder. He didn't get this because he didn't care, or because he can't be on time or whatever, Like put yourself, if the opportunity presents itself, put yourself in the best position to succeed. And
you got to be prepared too. I mean, you just can't fake it. Lee Schrager does a thing called South Beach Food and Wine. He does one in New York as well. And when it first started, maybe it's 20 years ago now.
Mark, next year is going to be the 25th anniversary.
Is it really? Well, we've been going to it that long. That's insane. But they have a big thing, which now it's a tent full of thousands of people called the Burger Bash.
Yeah.
Who has the best burger? Now, the first one I went to, which was, I think, year 1 or 2, it was in a little tent.
Yeah.
And there were like 10 of you guys.
Yep.
I
didn't do the first 2 years of the Burger Bash. I did Food and Wine, but I didn't do the first 2 years of the Burger Bash.
But you and Bobby used to compete insanely for best.
Yeah, okay? I beat him all the time.
And you beat him it was so competitive.
Yeah.
And now back then you could actually eat 10 burgers. Now there's 100 burgers and
right.
There's no way you can do it. But that was so much fun back then.
Oh my God, it was hilarious.
And the votes would come, and I just remember looking at Bobby's face when you would beat him again. Did he ever win?
He won the last year he did it.
Did he?
I think. Yeah. Like we won, I want to say we won 3 or 4 in a row, and then we called it a day.
But that was so much fun to go to that.
I remember the funniest thing about that is the Burger Bash was hosted by Rachel.
Yeah.
And, towards the end, like the first couple of years it was small, and then it just started growing.
Insanely.
And like to the point where I'm like, I'd look around the stage, I'm like, I don't even know who half these people are. And Rachel would go, the votes were really close this year. And like, I think there were a couple years where like I won by like 2 votes.
Oh.
Allegedly. So she's like, the winner of Burger Bash, and I'd look at her, and he'd look at her, and then we'd look at each other, and he's like, you got it. Like we could tell by her face, like,
really?
Oh my God, I beat him again.
Yeah, he doesn't like to lose.
Yeah.
No, that's why the friendship is as good as it is.
Well, it is.
I love that. I'll mention a few things, and you tell me about them. Golf.
Love it.
And you beat Flay on that all the time too, don't you?
I get the best of golf more often than not. I've been playing golf since I've been. My grandfather was a pipe fitter and an avid, very good golfer, like self-taught scratch golfer. So I started golf when I was 8 years old with him, and like I wasn't like a country club kid golfer. I was like a public course smacking around golfer, but learned at a very young age. It's one of my favorite things to do still.
Motorcycles.
Love them
because
freedom. There is very few feelings as liberating in the world as driving the speed limit on open roads with that
like
wind whipping at you. It's invigorating, and I love it.
Gardening
is my slice of how I would, if there's heaven, I would imagine this is how it feels. I like to be in the dirt with my hands, no gloves, none of that bullshit.
No gloves.
No, hands in the dirt, feeling the soil, planting something, nurturing it, watching it grow, and then it feeds you. I mean, come on. Like, it's the greatest thing in the world. Like, everybody, if everyone in the world gardened, I'm certain there'd be peace on earth.
The house you just sold I was never there, but...
And you were invited, by the way.
We'll have that discussion later. But it was amazing on television.
It was special. I mean, like, Liz and I bought this place in Long Island about 15 years ago when basically when Kyle decided he was going to move out there. And we had been going out there for a long time because staying with Bobby and things like that. So then I was doing the Chew in New York. So I couldn't live in a city without trees. So we got the place in Long Island. And it was an older house that had been that needed a lot of work, and the outdoors, it became very overgrown. So we basically took the whole outdoor down to dirt, and I started, and like I had someone help me like kind of get the basic foundation of it down and all that, and then I just kept planting and planting and planting and planting. And yeah, it was incredible gardens. And like when we were selling the house, like people that watched Simon's Dinners Cooking Out, they're like, "Why would you leave?" I'm like, "I built them. I'll build them again." And I do the creative part of building them. It is as exciting to me as the final part.
So in the new place, have you started that?
Not yet. That's going to be next big project. I can't wait.
I bet. I
can't wait.
Do you get relaxed when you do it?
Insanely relaxed.
Really?
Like my whole brain just freeze. It's weird. I can't explain it. Yeah.
So Liz is a sommelier, right?
Yep.
But a designer as well.
Professional drinker. She's a professional drinker and she designs all the restaurants in our homes and stuff.
And you've been married how long?
72 years.
Let me get Liz on the phone
here. we met in 89, have been together since 93, and have been married for 26 years.
26. You talk about these dates, and when I looked and realized that you were born the year before I graduated high school.
I mean, I don't feel young anymore, but man, you're old.
Oh my God.
I mean, I look across at you and to realize that you're 5 years younger than my mother is I mean, you look great, Marc Summers.
Oh my God. Yeah, we did a Mother's Day dinner impossible somewhere in West Virginia.
Oh my God, my mom and sister.
Your mom and sister came and cooked, and I learned that your sister and me had different points of view on a lot of things in life.
Yeah, we do too. I mean, fortunately, we get along great, but holy moly.
I know.
We are two different human beings.
Oh, isn't that the case? That's amazing. So two things. We talk about overcoming obstacles. What's the biggest obstacle you had to overcome for your success?
I would say early on it was self-doubt. I was fortunate enough to be relatively successful in the food industry at a young age. And then, some self-doubt creeps in, is like, was this lucky? Do I deserve to be here? Can I continue to succeed at this level, like the longevity of it? So I think early on there was self-doubt. And then I would say the next one is that, as I get older, is the physicality of it.
Yeah. You're doing the show called 24/24.
Yeah.
Where you shoot straight through for 24 hours.
Yeah. So we shoot 24 straight hours. So Esther and I are there for about 30 because it's shot like a live show. We had to get the blocking and everything done ahead of time so we know what's going on. And I'm basically emceeing the whole thing for 24 straight hours. So it's like there's a lot. That's where, in baseball you say like a 5-tool player. Like mm-hmm. I mean, I don't want to say I'm a 5-tool host, but that I'm a chef that has done live television for 7 years, has done edited television for 25 years, like that. I was able to really empty my whole toolbox on that show, so to speak, because you had to MC it like it's a live show.
Yeah.
You have to get in and out. You have to know what's happening with 24 chefs at the same time, and I'm able to do that. So,
and it kicked ass first season, which is why there's season 2.
And as you know, like no one has to tell me what to say. Like I don't need someone in my ear saying, "Okay, now say," like.
No, you're the last person you got to
yeah, like so that show works very well for me. Like Brian Lando was like, I didn't have to tell you anything. I'm like, no shit. Like
Brian's the exec on that show. And I've seen him on other shows where he's whispering a lot of things to people.
Yeah, I'm like, shut up.
Yeah, exactly. Just let me do you hired me for a reason. Shut up, man. It's amazing. What would you tell anybody who thinks they want to be in the culinary world today, whether it's CIA or just getting a job? I always, when my daughter thought she wanted to be on Broadway, I said to her, just move to New York, get a job at a restaurant, and go audition. Now, I understand why you go to college. It's to grow and meet people and all that kind of stuff. But I have no patience. And so I didn't want to go to college. I joined the Navy. I got kicked out after 28 days and ended up making it happen without going to, NYU or something like that. You're the same kind of guy. Mm-hmm. Parents hate me when I say, save the money, don't go to school.
I say the same thing.
It just... real life experience is better.
Right. And I mean, I think it probably depends on the person ultimately. Look, Kyle was a straight A student, dropped out of college, and he's incredibly successful. He didn't have to go,
And he's selling donuts.
Yeah, he owns a upscale donut and coffee shops in Long Island.
And he's doing fantastic.
Killing it. But he found what he loves and he chased it, And I mean, to young chefs, whether they go to culinary school, not go to culinary school, I would say, one, realize when you're getting into it, this is not an easy business. It's physically demanding, mentally demanding, and you have to know that going in. And the pace is sometimes, you're standing in front of 700-degree stoves and ovens for 10, 12, 14, 16 hours at a crack. And that's what you have to do to ultimately be very, very successful in this business.
And then after you're done cooking, you've got to clean that place up. What people don't realize is cleaning the hoods and all that stuff
sucks
for hours.
Oh, it sucks.
Yeah, but it's part of the gig.
It is part of the gig, especially when you're young. Like, I mean, I don't do that anymore. I make sure it's done.
Yeah,
I don't do it anymore. But like, and then I would say the other thing is regardless of if you go to school or if you work for other chefs or whatever, when you're at the job, always like don't think you know it all. Like when sometimes I'll get young cooks and they just think they know it all, and I'm like, if you knew it all, you wouldn't be here.
Yeah,
like you wouldn't have taken the job to work with us if you already knew it all. You'd be in charge.
Yeah. So
I'm like, I'm in charge and I learn something new every day. So like if you aren't willing to learn something new every day, to me, like any day I don't learn something new, I feel like I took a step backwards. Like the two things that my grandfather, Pap, he was like, when I was young, he's like, you need to learn how, like I always wanted everything in a place kind of thing. And he's like, you need to learn how to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that was a huge lesson to me. And then the other thing was never stop learning. And like, so if there's a day where I'm comfortable and I'm not putting myself in an uncomfortable situation, even if it's like when I walk the dog taking a different route, like a new route. And if I don't learn something new that day, and it could be something stupid, it could be like, I gotta do some research on this Milrow guy the Browns are going to draft because because I need to be an NFL host one day.
Let's talk about those Browns.
Yeah. God, there's a reason I don't have any hair, and it's not because of marriage or Bobby Flay. It is 100% because of the Cleveland Browns.
I know. I text you often during those games, and it's like, I just,
the
so
pain
close.
is real.
Yeah. Oh, no, I know it is. It's got to be difficult.
Yeah. So I think that those two things, both in the restaurant industry and in life, are very important to young people that want to grow.
You have the right frame of mind. Yeah. Two things that I remember from you. One is you took me. I was living in Philly at the time, and we have the market there, and you took me to the one in Cleveland. Oh my God!
West Side Market.
The West Side Market is the best market I've ever been.
110 years old,
and it's the cleanest place, by the way.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But the variety of food. So when you were opening up in Atlantic City, you asked me to MC the opening night, which I was very flattered. And I have a very strange palate and don't try a lot of stuff. So I got the first dish, which was a salad, and it was like the best salad I ever had in my entire life. And I went into the kitchen, and the place is packed, and you're yelling out orders. And I said, Michael, that salad dressing is the best salad dressing I've ever had in my life. What is it? And you said, oil and vinegar. Get the fuck out of my kitchen.
That sounds about right.
And so, to me, it was very special. It must have been the oil that you were using, but...
Look, in most things in life, the easiest, you buy really great extra virgin olive oil, really good red wine vinegar, and it probably had some shallots and, whatever in it too.
Right.
But let's not make this harder than it actually is.
Well, I left the kitchen. So this has been a ball. I love you so much, man. You're the most down-to-earth chef I know. And I think that's paid off career-wise and otherwise. And just means a lot to me that you got to sit across me for an hour and do this. So
I'm very happy to be here. You're as you know, you're one of my favorite people. So Liz is like, what are you doing today? I'm like, oh, I got to go do the podcast with Mark. She's like, oh my God, please tell him I said hi. She goes, how fun is that? You love seeing Mark. I'm like, yeah, if he wasn't in Silver Lake, I'd love seeing him more, but I do. Yes, I love seeing Mark.
We'll try and move it a little closer next time. Michael Symon, lots of books, 24/24 on Food Network. Marc Summers Unwraps. Take care. Marc Summers Unwraps is a production of Believe Limited, created by me, Marc Summers, and Jessica Richmond. Produced by Keith Corneluck and Jessica Richmond. Executive produced by Patrick James Lynch and Ryan Geelan. Post-production support from Joshua Sterling Bragg and Believe Limited. Don't forget to subscribe or follow the show on your favorite podcast player. And if you really love it, why don't you leave us a rating and a review? Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Marc Summers Unwraps.